It's time for the Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Funniest mother you've ever seen.
Yes, you just have to be prepared to die. And you'll probably take with you your spouse and one or more of your children.
Is staggering. President Trump and his family are making hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars, as Trump and his administration take official actions that benefit contributors and investors. Just this week, we learned of pardons to tax cheats, including a man whose pardon was granted weeks after his mother attended a $1 million a head fundraiser with the president. The Trump Media and Technology Group raised nearly $2.5 billion from 50 institutional investors whose identities have not been disclosed. The SEC dropped its lawsuit against the cryptocurrency firm Binance days after Binance began listing the cryptocurrency launched by World Liberty Financial, the crypto firm started by Trump's family. This unprecedented money-making by a sitting president and his family, summarized by critics like The Atlantic's David Frum. Nothing like this has been attempted or even imagined in the history of the American presidency, he writes, is no analogy with any previous action by any past president or a post.
It was supposed to be.
The executive orders are an outrage. We have a president that can't lead.
So he sits down and he signs an executive order. It's not supposed to be like that. And if I'm president, it won't be like that.
Obama, because he couldn't get anybody to agree with him, he starts signing them like they're butter. So I want to do away with executive orders for the most part.
You got to close the door and get things done without signing your executive orders all the time. That's the easy way out.
I want to not use too many executive orders, folks.
You have a president that signs executive orders because he can't get anything done.
He doesn't work the system. That's why he signs executive orders all the time, because he can't get his own people to go along.
You can't put people into a room and they can't agree to things. And he just says, well, you know what? In 2 years, I'm going to be playing golf for the rest of my life, and I'm just going to sign these executive orders.
There's a lot of executive orders that I think the president's been pleased with.
We put out more executive orders than any previous administration in the last 50 years.
Overall, he has signed a record number of executive orders.
President Trump is on pace to spend more than $1 billion of taxpayer dollars.
I know we're having some issues here. Everything's so volatile here. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I had technical difficulties. I don't know what happened on the first stream. It played for. Hopefully it will not be too bad. I've been working on trying to get this green screen to be as wrinkle-free as possible and spread out as possible. It looks pretty good today. This might be the best it's ever looked, even though I can still see a little bit of a fold there. I did use. I utilized Jolie's idea with the chip clips, along with, but not just hanging down. I have these little bungee cords, so I chip clip the corners, and then I use some bungee cords to attach them. Like one is attached to the coffee table, one is attached to a toolbox that I have, and I'm trying to spread it out. And there's this kind of this back and forth. If I go too far this way, it wants to tip over. So yeah, it's been a whole thing. I've been working on this for like an hour, trying to get this all just right. And it kind of defeats the purpose of having this green screen on a stand, where it's supposed to just be easy peasy. You just plop it down, and it's supposed to be good to go, ready to go, not all this kind of like prep work. Anyhow, here we are. It's 11:24 a.m. Pacific time zone. We are already at 86 degrees. Expected high today is 92. We did have a little bit of rain yesterday. Today it's just kind of partly cloudy. I think the rain is gone. They had flash flood warnings because this whole valley, whenever it rains, especially up in the foothills and everything, it all funnels right down into Vegas. That's why Las Vegas is Las Vegas, is because back in the day, it was kind of like a little oasis, and it was a good watering hole. This is going way back to like the Santa Fe Trail and shit like that, in like 1800s and shit. And that's kind of how Vegas kind of, propped up or whatever. Anyhow, I see that I don't know who. I don't think I'm able to go. I don't know if I'm all the way to the beginning, but Mr. Spock says number 2, and Search for You says first. So there's a bit of a debate there as to who was first on this one. Now, on the other one, I believe Sandy Foltz was first on the first one. But anyhow, we got Mr. Spock here. Search for You. Good to see you. Jolie's here. Thank you. Mad Max, Slava Ukraini. Absolutely. The Soulcraft is here. Soulcraft, whatever. Sandy Foltz, there's Sandy. Nick Rich, hit the like. Hit that like. We got 17 watching, 19 likes. Let's get some more folks in here in the chat room. Share the show. Spread the word. We can hang out. Damon Dog, you coming in for try number 2. Like I said, the first one, I don't know what happened. I started it. It played for like 2 seconds and just, I don't know. Sandy Foltz, you're buffering. Hopefully the buffering has stopped. I haven't seen any issues in the last few minutes here. Mr. Spock says, I think I'm first and the second attempt. Intermittent buffering, says Nick. Nick Rich, working better for you. Frozen on my iPad. So, well, now it's going again. Rosanna's here. Damon Dog, the big dog. Nobody move. There's the Gulf Marine. CR's here. Hey, CR, good to see you. In the driver's lounge. Yeah, there's Mr. Spock. I didn't give you my Vulcan salute. Live long and prosper. Gulf Marine Dog Shit Taco was Eric Harmon. Not to be confused with Eric Cartman. Was that on 12:21? I'm about 6 minutes back of you. MJ says, am I right on time or what? You're always right on time. No matter what time you get here is right on time. Gulf Marine, a blunt is almost required in order to discuss politics. Mr. Spock, in England, it's Yamaha FS1E. Is that you were talking about a moped or something, I guess? Still got technical difficulties. Yeah, I don't know what I can do. I mean, other than just write it out and see if it gets better. There's Roxanne Epstein. Howdy, TJ and truckers. Howdy back at you. Good to see you. Gulf Marine. Apparently, TJ is either acidic or alkalinic. Needs buffering. But Jolie, teamwork makes the dream work. Yes, is that in reference to your suggestion about using the chip clips? Because that did help. I mean, as far as Gulf Marine, the crease in your green screen the creases in your green screen have changed. Yeah, you can still see a little bit, but it's not. I don't think it's not as bad as it was. I can live with this. I think I can live with it. I don't know if you guys can live with it, but I can live with it. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. I think I can live with it. I don't know if you guys can live with it, but I can. Yeah, it's just really. a choppy thing. Search for you. No, I was first. No, but here's Aaron. We got Aaron and Jolie now. Full mod. We're at full mod capacity. Thanks to both of you for being here. Search for you. We're buffering again. If it gets too bad, if it gets to be so horrible, let me know and we'll just call it a day. I guess because there's nothing I can do about it. There's not anything I can do about it. I'm sort of at the mercy of the cellular signal transmission gods right now. Hey, Robert Perez from down San Diego way. Hello, Robert Perez. Good. Sandy Foltz is 2:30 in Niagara Falls. The Soulcraft says I have the worst 2 mosquito bites. They're huge, like if it were a bird. Wow. Hope they didn't get all your blood. Damon Dog, have you tried using cellular 4G, 5G instead of Wi-Fi? I'm not using Wi-Fi. I'm using cellular because the Wi-Fi here sucks. Yeah, I'm on 5G. According to the phone says in the little upper right-hand corner, I'm pretty sure it said 5G. Mr. Spot, got to set up my irrigation system. Search for you. Don't move, John. Sandy Foltz, I was first. My name got erased. I believe Sandy. Yeah, I've tried to go on. My phone won't even. Whenever I try to go on the Wi-Fi on my phone, I think it'll say like this network isn't available or some weird shit. It'll work on my TV and it'll work on the iPad, I think, but it won't work on my phone. Robert Perez, a slow motion hello. Hello. How are you? Nick Rich says blame Starlink for the shitty internet connections. Two floors of apartments above me and surrounded by hundreds of people, and everyone has cell phones. So, I'm sure that all plays into it. I think. I don't know. What do I know? Sandy Falls, TJ, did you go shopping yet? Did you go down to see the apartment? No and no. I haven't gone shopping yet, and I haven't done the apartment yet. But I'm going to do that today. I'll get that done today. Nick Rich says, my phone is on auto LTE plus currently 90%. Or what? Josh, it just hit 90 degrees in Savannah, Georgia. I believe that was Georgia, right? Oh, it's Savannah, New York. Wow. So it's 90 up in New York. Hey, guess what, guys? I caught up with chat, so that's the show. See you guys tomorrow. Sandy Folks, whatever happened to your modem box? It didn't work since day one. The modem doesn't work because the phone jack apparently isn't hooked up, and I never did worry about getting it fixed or whatever because I thought I was going to be moving, so I didn't see any reason to try to get it fixed or try to have a technician come out and look at it or whatever. And just get charged all those fees for having someone come out or to hook it up or whatever. Because I really thought within the next week or so that I'd be moving. Now it's been like a month and I still haven't moved. But the modem doesn't work because I believe it's just because the phone jack that I plugged into isn't hooked up. And I thought that all the rooms had phone jacks that you could use. I never did follow up. I was going to go to the office and ask them if the phone jacks were live or whatever, and I never did. They might just be able to flip a switch and the phone jack would work, so I don't know. But no, I haven't. But I just figured, well, I'm going to be moving in a week, and like I said, this was like a month ago or whatever. So I just didn't bother with it, Brooklyn's in the house. Brooklyn in the driver's lounge. Hey, Brooklyn. Hello to you. Tim Farrell, bye, John. Yeah, because I was joking about the show's over. I think that's what that's about. Mr. Box says, this sucks. I remembered something I need to pick up at the grocery store yesterday and forgot to write it on the list. Now you got to make another trip, don't you? Brooklyn says my phone was dead. I just turned it on. And we got that double posting there. Mr. Spock, I forgot what I remembered not writing down. That sucks too. I'm going to edit that. That sucks too. I don't think you meant goo. I'll go ahead and do a little editing there. Brooklyn always forgets her shopping list. My shopping list, it's all up here. I don't need no stinking list. Of course, that's why I always come back with not getting stuff that I needed. Brooklyn, New York says it's my younger granddaughter's birthday today. Well, happy birthday to your granddaughter. Happy birthday to the granddaughter. So, anyhow, what should we talk about, guys? Should we talk about the kid that was in front of my window? And I think he's kicking a ball or something. I don't know. What's going on today? Elon Musk probably feeling like he didn't get his money's worth. How many millions of dollars did he basically give to the Trump campaign? Wasn't it like 25 million or 30 million dollars? And now Trump really doesn't want to even have anything to do with him. Trump's like, I got what I needed out of you. This little craft, no kill. Brooklyn says I wind up. I always forget to send a card. I wind up sending flowers that cost so much more. Just for you, he got screwed. Oh yeah, 350 million. That's what it was. Yeah, Nick Rich coming in with the number. Yeah, it wasn't a paltry 30 million. What was I thinking? Yeah, I think it was like $350 million. Wouldn't it be nice to have just a $350 million that you could just throw at some fucking, asshole thing? Yeah, Damon Dog, 300 million plus X platform. Mr. Spock says I've tried to over 35 years to get the phrase "that sucks," that goo into pop culture. Okay, my mistake then. I shouldn't have edited. Hey, William, good to see you. William's here in the driver's lounge. Brooklyn, New York says I'm really lazy. I pay for Instacart. It's worth it. I do that every now and then too, and I realize it's cheaper just to go and shop yourself or whatever. Well, and I've been doing it lately because a lot of times I don't have a car, but I'm technically within walking distance of the store. It's kind of far though. I mean, and then to like schlep your groceries back. So I could take the bus, and that's a hassle. If I have the Vay car, I've done that. I've gone down and shopped using that Vay car, and it's not that much. It's only 5 cents a minute when I'm shopping, and it usually doesn't take me more than an hour to shop. But every now and then I do some, what is it, Instacart? Or I usually do DoorDash. I think more, and it's usually for something kind of frivolous. Like the other day, I was saying how I just ordered a chocolate malt from Whataburger. That was it. No burger, no fries, no nothing else. Just that shake. But I just felt like treating myself. It was like a little treat to myself. Search for you plus Tesla. Pamela says, I thought F. Elon or like Felon gave 200 million. Well, whatever it was, 200 million, 300 million. Hey, what's 100 million amongst friends? It was a lot of money. At least in my eyes, it's a lot of money. Maybe in Elon Musk's, it's just pocket change. But he seems to be getting the cold shoulder now from Trump. You know, they fired him. Trump fired him from the report I saw, and he was, escorted out of the White House, which I suppose is just, no big deal. That's probably what everyone gets, an escort out, by Secret Service or whatever. But just the way it was worded and the way it sounded, it's like I could just picture Elon with his little box with his stuff, and his potted plant. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to take this. And, all I need is this, And he's being escorted out of the building. That's how I pictured it. I don't think it was like that. He just walked. I'm sure he just walked out. The Soulcraft, I think they say he still made over $3 billion. That's what Trump has made, I think, from the crypto shit, from his crypto crap. Hey, Fancy's here. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Brooklyn says, last night I watched 3 movies on YouTube, free with ads, better than Netflix. I just don't like ads, though, when you're watching a movie or something, or even a TV show. I guess I've gotten so spoiled. I hate when the ads pop up. And they don't let you fast forward through it or skip it either. I don't think. Right. Mr. Spock, I do have a truck, but it's not insured or registered. Well, you might want to do that before you drive it around. Search for you. Do you have a Instacart membership? Who, me? No. In fact, I do. Like I said, I usually use DoorDash or Uber Eats, or I use the Albertson app if I want to have groceries delivered. And I think on the Albertson one, was it Albertsons or it might have been DoorDash? I think I did buy one of those memberships because it's supposed to make it cheaper in the long run. I don't remember if I still have it or if I just did the trial membership, because it's supposed to lower, the cost of it if you become a member. And then but I don't think I kept it because I just don't use it enough, to kind of justify it. Nick Rich, my numbers might be exaggerated. It was hundreds of millions. No, I think you're right. Nick. I think it was like 300 million or something. Fancy says Elon got beat up, and I don't think it was by his 5-year-old. I think it was by Stephen Miller or somebody like that. Brooklyn says, and over been paying for express delivery. Love it. Express delivery, so it gets there faster. Yeah. Every now and then, I splurge. Just order me something. But I'm just sitting here. Josh says ads work for pee breaks or fridge runs. Yeah, but I can always, if I need to do that if I'm watching, Netflix or whatever with no commercials, I can just hit the pause button. Brooklyn ads are 30 seconds. But sometimes they'll string 3 or 4 of them together. Okay, look, man. If you like, if it doesn't bother you, that's fine. But I hate having commercials breaks now. I've been so spoiled by not having to watch commercials that I just hate it if I'm watching something that has commercials. Fancy says that was a lie. Yeah, about him getting hit by his 5-year-old. Yeah. David Dog says Disney Plus is the only place I have ads, and that's because I'm cheap and only pay $3.99 a month. I used to have Disney Plus because I was watching like the Star Wars ones, the Baby Yoda one, whatever that was called, and I started watching like Mandalorian. I guess that was Mandalorian, huh? And I watched a few of those things, and then after a while, I think the prices went way up, so I just dropped it. Not a few years, like a couple of years ago, because I think they really raised the price really high, didn't they, or something? Or maybe it was Hulu. I think I had Hulu where it went from like $14.99 or something like that a month to like 40 something a month or something like that. It was really ridiculous, and I was like, "Fuck this." Mr. Spock's moped is painted with speckled black. Broken Big Deal is free. I know, but I'm just saying. I know it's great. It's free. I've watched a few of those that popped up on YouTube. It just pops up, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll watch it. And I watched. It's been a while now. It's been a few months, I guess. But I think I watched maybe Serpico came on, or one of those like Pacino movies. I think one of the movies I was in came on. It was called The Big Time. It was a Molly Ringwald movie, like a made-for-TV movie, and that I was a background guy in. And I watched that, and I still can't see me to this day. I still can't. I never see me, even though I was in a lot of scenes in that movie. And I took a picture with Molly Ringwald. I took a picture with who I thought was Molly Ringwald. And I've told this story, and it turned out to be the chick. What's her name from Mad Men? The redhead. I thought that was Molly Ringwald because I was still thinking of Molly Ringwald from her redhead days of like Pretty in Pink or whatever, and the chick from Mad Men, the redhead. This is back in 1991. Gosh, wow, it's a long time ago, or something, somewhere around the early 90s, I think. Or no, wait, no, this one might have been later. No, I think this was in the early 90s because it was right after I did Planet of the Apes. I think it was pretty much after that. Anyhow, so I just thought this was a little bit older because the chick from Mad Men, this is when she was still pretty young, but older than the Molly Ringwald of Pretty in Pink or whatever, right? You know what I mean? So I just thought I thought it was Molly Ringwald. And we were doing a scene, and in between scenes, she whipped out a camera and says, hey, and she grabbed one of the other actors, and she said, hey, would you take a picture of us? I wasn't in the picture. She wanted me to take a picture of them. And so I took a picture of a couple, with her camera, because she had a camera in her pocket, a little digital camera. This was before really when phones had cameras on them, but they were really crappy. So she had one of those little digital cameras, and she goes, "Hey, would you take a picture of me and whatever his guy's name was? I forget." And so they did. They stood next to each other, like put their arms around each other, type of thing. I snapped a couple pictures, and the whole time I just thought that was Molly Ringwald, but no, it was the chick from Mad Men, the redhead. I can't remember her name, but she came, and she's become, since Mad Men, pretty big star, I guess. Done some stuff, and it was like, I don't know, 20 years later or 30 years later, I finally go, that was not Molly Ringwald. That was that other chick. But anyhow, I watched that. That popped up on YouTube. I watched that. Yeah, I've watched a few things that just pop up if I've got the time. But I've had a lot of those, like Paramount Plus. I've canceled a lot of them because I haven't been in the best place financially, so I did cancel a lot of my subscriptions and stuff. But the one I've kept, I still have Netflix. I had Hulu, I had all that. I had Disney Plus, a whole bunch of them, and I just canceled them all. Except for Netflix. That's the only one I've kept. Damon Dog, Andor and Disney Plus is great, 2 seasons. Yeah. I haven't watched Andor, but they're probably good. Francis says you owe me a Coke. I don't know who owes you a Coke. Sandy Folds, I have Instacart membership. Josh says I agree to the extent that auto-generated ads suck when they're in the middle of a scene. Tim Farrell says if you have a VPN, you can find HD commercial-free anything, no charge. I have VPN, but I don't know. Usually, if I have VPN and then I try to log into something, it says turn off your VPN. It won't let me log in with the VPN on or something. Damon says Hulu is included on Disney Plus now. Brooklyn says push MK2 my moped. Fancy says I made a 1970s playlist here on YouTube. It's very cool. Brooklyn, you were an actor? I was just a background. I was just a background artist, as we like to say. Basically an extra. I was an extra, which means I have no lines. I would just walk around in the background. But I did that. I did quite a few things. Most notably, Planet of the Apes. I was one of the gorillas. This was before, all the CGI. And they used. This is in 2001, just before the CGI, I guess, got good enough. Because then they did a reboot right after that, just a few years later. And that's when you had all the CGI monkeys. But in 2001, it was a Tim Burton film, and they used actual real people in actual gorilla and ape costumes, and I was one of the gorillas. I do have videos of that on my YouTube channel. I have a Planet of the Apes playlist, I believe, and it has a bunch of that stuff on there. Mr. Spock, yeah, Molly Ringwald messed me up for redheads, but in that movie, The Big Time, she wasn't the redhead. She actually was this sort of what was she called, bleach blonde or whatever? Like that. The blonde that's white, the white hair blonde. She played that person part. She played she was supposed to be this rich, or the wife of I guess she was played the wife of the rich guy who owned the station. Because this is The Big Time. It was supposed to be about, I guess, 1930s or 40s. When they, I guess, it just started a TV station. I guess that'd be the 40s, maybe. It was supposed to be like this TV station in, I guess, New York. It was like a whole new, it was like the advent of TV station, having a TV station or something. And so Molly Ringwald played she was like the ditzy blonde, like trophy wife of the guy who I think was Christopher Lloyd. I think Christopher Lloyd played the owner of this station, if I remember right. And I bumped elbows with Christopher Lloyd at the craft services table. Craft services is basically a table they set up that has like snacks and stuff. The people can just go and grab if you want a snack. And it's usually like donuts and bagels, or they'll have a little some veggie plate that you can choose, like celery and carrots and shit like that, or they'll have a little cheese plate, and then they'll have coffee, and they'll have probably water, and they might have some sodas that you could grab or whatever. And so I was at the craft service table, and then someone goes next to me, and we both have our plates, and we're just sort of loading our plates up. And I kind of glanced over, and it's Christopher Lloyd, the professor from Back to the Future, right? And so I'm just like, whoa, I'm standing here, that's Christopher Lloyd, and we're both just sitting there, not, it's sort of like that awkward silence type of thing. And I'm like, well, I've got to say something. But, they always tell you as a background, they give you this thing to sign, basically, that says you won't look at the actors, you won't interact with them, you won't, because they don't want people bugging them, basically. It's not because the actors are, snobs or whatever. They don't want fanboys and fangirls to get all like, oh, look at that's Christopher Lloyd or whatever. So they tell you, and they make you kind of sign this little whatever you want to call it, agreement or whatever, that you're not going to like look at the actors and talk to the actors and interact with them and all that kind of stuff. So I always was a little nervous whenever I was next to one of the talent, as they call it. But anyhow, we're there. We're both sitting there. We're both standing, basically, literally touching elbows as we're filling up our paper plates with some goodies and some snacks. And so I'm like, well, I gotta say something. This is Christopher Lloyd, for fuck's sake, So I think I just said something like, I don't know, something about the food. I was like, wow, some really great choices we have here, And he's like, and then Christopher Lloyd just kind of laughed, and he's like, yeah, do I want the day old bagel or these yummy looking carrots or something like that? I don't know. And I remember I think I said something back, and we both got a little chuckle. I think I made Christopher Lloyd chuckle, And then I was like, okay. Then I went that way, and he went that way, and we never saw each other again, other than in some scenes where I was just standing there, and stuff like that. But so that's my Christopher Lloyd story. And one time I was in a scene. One of the other stars of the movie, I forget his name, but he was in a lot of TV shows. I can't remember the guy's name, but he played one of the executives of the channel, and I was in this scene where it was just like an office. It was like his office, and he was talking to one of the other characters, and then I was just in the room. It was like I was bringing in. I think I was supposed to be bringing in like film reels or something. That was like my job. I always was pushing this cart around that had like reels of film on it. And so during one of the takes, they would always, they would yell cut, and then they're just like hold, everyone hold, and they're just holding, and then the director and the DP, the director of photography, they're going around and they're still trying to block the shot out. They're still setting the lighting. They're trying to figure out the camera angles. And if it's going to be too long, then they'll just tell the talent to go back to their dressing rooms. And sometimes they'll bring in what are just body doubles. They're not stunt doubles. They're just body doubles. Just basically people who have roughly the same size, height, and weight or whatever, and they just stand in. They're just stand-ins. But in this case, they didn't call for the stand-ins because it wasn't going to be that long, I guess. But it was still 5, 10, 15 minutes where we're just standing there. So it was me and these two other actors. And the one guy, I recognized him from a lot of TV shows, and I can't remember his name. So we're just standing there, and they kind of like, it's kind of funny. We just started talking, and they kind of like included me. I'm just the background dude. And they were cool. They were just like, hey, how's it going, man? Whatever. It's just basically kind of small talk. We're just kind of shooting the shit, That was kind of cool. I thought it was really cool. Where we're just, good old Trucker John. I wasn't Trucker John then, but, Trucker John is just having a convo with some fellow actors as we waited for the director and everybody to set that scene up or relight it or whatever, because they did shoot something. I guess they didn't like it, and they wanted to kind of rework because they did a lot of handheld camera. I remember in that movie they were doing a lot of handheld stuff with the what do you call it, where it doesn't shake or whatever. It's basically the cameraman kind of has a rig on, and the camera's in it, but he's able to walk around. Nick Rich, I mentioned it earlier in Hal's chat. Suno is a free AI music maker. I think I used Suno. I think that might have been what I used to make my songs. I forget. I used one of them. I still have it on the phone. I forget which one I used to make my music. It might have been Suno. Fancy says I wrote it down. I used the one called Sing, which is pretty cool and free. Fancy, I have Prime, Netflix, and Paramount. The Soulcraft says, yeah, those sites I use make you turn off the VPN. That's what happened. Yeah, because I was going to try that little trick, and they're always like, turn off your VPN. And I'm like, well, damn, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having the VPN. Nick's Rich just before 2001: A Space Odyssey. Brooklyn, wow, you were a gorilla. I'm very impressed. Yeah, I was a gorilla. I named myself the Red Ape Soldier because we had actual real like retired military guys that were like advisors on the film because they wanted this ape army to be very kind of regimented, I guess, and like an army. So they brought in these two. One was a former retired, I think, gunnery sergeant, and the other one was a retired, I think, staff sergeant. And I believe they were both Army, if I remember correctly. And they suited up in gorilla. They were also in gorilla outfits when we were filming. But they took us to ape school. We had to go to like a week of ape school to learn how to walk like apes, but also how to get into like platoons and units and all this kind of stuff. It was really cool. And I think Gunny, old Gunny there, he called us the Red Ape Army. That's just what that wasn't in the script. That's just what I don't think it was in the script. Maybe it was. Maybe that's where he got it from. But he just started calling us the Red Ape Army. You guys are the Red Ape Army, and so I called myself the Red Ape Soldier. Brooklyn 471 says, I was a redhead for a while, then blonde for about 29 years. Now it's too expensive, so I'm a brunette. Rosanna, let's see that groovy haircut. No, I did not get a haircut. I have not gotten a haircut. Just my hair is not sticking out all over the place, I guess, today. Brooklyn says, I never knew this about you. Oh, YJ. Who's YJ? Maybe I'm a TJ. The Soulcraft, Roddy McDowell, when he plays Caesar, the son of the original Cornelius. I wasn't in those movies. That's the old ones from the 60s and 70s. I was in the one in the 2001, the reimagining. They were calling it a reimagining by Tim Burton. Tim Farrell says, my brother was an extra in a dozen or so movies. He said Kathy Bates and Kevin Spacey, I know, were extremely nice, and Rob Lowe was a huge asshole. I can see that. I can see that. The thing about, I used to like Kevin Spacey. I almost called him Kevin Lacey. I used to like Kevin Spacey too until we found out what a horrible person he is. The sexual predator, assaulter type person. But of course, when he kind of hit it big, basically, I guess I think the first thing I saw him in was probably The Usual Suspects. Then he had was it American whatever, and he had a whole string of movies. He really became big, and that's when I kind of learned that. So I was born in Northridge, California, which is in the San Fernando Valley, which it's just over the Hollywood Hills from LA, right? And I was born in 1960, and I think Kevin Spacey was born in 1960, maybe around the same month as me. I don't know. I just remember seeing these coincidences. Kevin Spacey, and I think he was born. I don't think he was born in Northridge, but I think he was born somewhere in the Valley, one of the hospitals in the Valley, in 1960, I believe, and he grew up in the Valley. Now, I didn't grow up in the Valley, but my cousin, my first cousin, who's 1 month to the day younger than me, grew up in Van Nuys. And so I spent a lot of time, going down. I would visit my cousin. I would spend nights down there, visiting and stuff. So I spent a lot of time in the Valley, and I just kept thinking, like, I might have ran into Kevin Spacey at some point, because we were both born there in the Valley, I believe in the same year, and I was always down there a lot, and I just kept thinking, I could have been the big movie star if I had just gone that direction instead of not going that direction. Maybe I would have been the big movie star instead of Kevin Spacey. Anyhow, Gimbal. No, not Gimbal. No Money G. Not really a gimbal. It's just the I can't remember what they call it. There is a name for it. It's a very common name. I can't remember the name of it. Just there's James Williams. Everybody hits the cutting room floor at some time or another. Fried green tomatoes. You guys talk about Kathy Bates. Jerry follows Pool Boy. Your face is my case. Jackie Childs. Fancy, you have any picks? Are you talking to me? I think I have some playlists that have. I have a Planet of the Apes playlist, and I think I have another playlist where I was able to get some stuff that I was in from a few of the movies that I was able to find online and stuff. Like, well, let's see. I kind of hate touching the screen. You never know what's going to happen. But I thought I had some pictures in on this app that I'm using. It has a little thing where I can keep some pictures and stuff. Let's see. Because I've had this convo before, and there's just new people come in and they don't know about it. Okay, so here's some here. This is me, but oh yeah, there I am. That's me on a break, during a break in the shooting, with my mask off. So there's that. And then this was taken by one of the other extras. That's me sort of in the foreground there, with the big pointy helmet. That's me. I kind of put that on a filter because it came out kind of dark. I was trying to brighten it up a little bit, so if it looks weird. But that's me in the foreground. That means I'm the front one. That's the Red Ape soldier right there. That's out on location. We shot that at the Trona Pinnacles, which is out by between Ridgecrest. It's out in the desert. Let's say it's probably, what is it, a couple 100 miles from LA or so. This is in 2001. It seems like, and then I zoomed in on it, and I put John Fowler as I guess I cut it off, but it's supposed to say Red Ape Soldier, I think, or something. So there's that. There's a little montage there, or a little whatever you call it. Some of my Planet of the Apes stuff. I do have a whole, I think, playlist on my channel here if you want to check it out. Oh, and then Jolie put a link, I guess, for Fancy's YouTube page. So there's Fancy if you want to check out Fancy's page. Tim Farrell, Hollywood's loss is our gain. Right. No, not Grips. Damon, Feet on the Dashboard. Well, that's a film that I made. I wrote and directed Feet on the Dashboard. That was in 2012 when I did that. David, on Truckatron, is Nexar a good dash cam? I'm thinking of getting a Nexar 2. I have one. I was using it in the truck, and it was good. Yeah, it was a good one. Tiffrell, John, you don't have to tell us that was you with your mask off. Okay. So there I am. 2001. Out there. I lost 30 pounds during that shoot. Because I was in that suit, and they had us running a lot. We did a lot of running because we were doing like battle scenes and or like it was like the start of, like, if you remember in the movie, it's kind of like a Braveheart thing or whatever, where the two forces clash, they start running, and we had to do take after take after take after of that. I remember I lost 30 pounds in about probably like a month. Because it was like pretty much everyday shooting. We're doing like 12-hour days plus sometimes. And but I will tell you that the craft services there was top notch. Tim Burton spared no expense in his in getting the money, because they had like, it was the best craft services I've ever. It was like gourmet. They had like gourmet food trucks out there, and we were getting like steak and lobster. I mean, it was like the best craft services that I've ever experienced. The Soulcraft says, yeah, you gotta hear this. Star Trek theme band called Warp 11. I had seen them long ago, but didn't know they were still around. Great songs. Red Alert is my personal favorite, I guess. Brooklyn, New York says, not everyone can produce a film. You have to be slimy, I guess. I don't know if you have to be slimy. I produced one, I guess. The Feet on the Dashboard. It was only 8.5 minutes long. I don't know if I listed myself as a producer, because I had a producer. I had a little film crew. But basically, I paid for everything. So I think I would be the executive producer, maybe. But it, I probably spent less than $500 on that film. And that most of that was in just providing some food for the cast and crew. And I even paid for gas money for my two stars, because they were coming up from LA. So I said, I'll pay for your gas, and I'll feed you guys lunch and breakfast if you get here early enough. So, because I remember a few times we met at McDonald's. I bought a McDonald's breakfast sandwiches, and then for lunch I had usually just like Subway sandwiches and stuff. which they seem to enjoy and they seem to like. So. Aaron West, I have an IMDb producer credit. Awesome, Aaron. I put Fit on the Dashboard on IMDb. I've always been trying to get people to go on there and give it like, I forget if it's 5 stars or 10 stars, but whatever the highest is, I kind of gave up on that. Jerry Falwell's Pool Boy, I love Hollywood craft services stories for some reason. Yeah, I rubbed elbows with Christopher Lloyd. Well, on Planet of the Apes, I actually drank beers with Paul Giamatti and Tim Burton and Mark Wahlberg. Shook Mark Wahlberg's hand. I stood right by Tim Burton. We were standing right next to each other, again, practically touching elbows. When we were at the wrap party at this bar in Ridgecrest, and everyone was doing karaoke. They had a big karaoke thing, and Big Bob, we called him Big Bob. He was about this 6'5" dude. And he was one of the gorillas, and he was up on stage singing karaoke. And so I remember me and Tim Burton, we got up, and we were just like, we're like cheering him on, and so me and Tim did that. But that's not really craft services. That's wrap party. I believe that's where Tim Burton, he was with, I don't know if he was married or just in a relationship. And he had, if I'm getting it straight, I'm hopefully not reversing it. I think she was this blonde girl, and she played in the movie a very small part, I think. And then this is where he hooked up with the famous actress, and I can't remember her name. Why am I so bad with remembering names all of a sudden? She's the one. She was in Fight Club, and she was in the Harry Potter movies. She's the dark-haired gal. She's very pretty. This is where during the filming of this movie, it started off in a relationship with the first one, and by the end of the movie, he was in a relationship with the other one. Things happen on those movie sets. I even hooked up. So things happen out there when you're out in the desert and far away from home. Shit happens, man. Brooklyn, I bet it was better than Rust. I can't believe they actually released the movie. I didn't even know that they finished the movie, but they released it to theaters in a very small release, I think, a few weeks ago, because I remember seeing like a trailer for it. Or I always watch one of those movie reviewers. They're from TYT. The blonde girl and Alonzo, the gay guy, and the blonde lady. They do movie reviews, and I think they're good. I don't mind that they're from the TYT network. And they popped up on my feed, and they reviewed the movie, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know I thought they just shut it down. I didn't even know they finished it, but apparently they finished the movie, and it was, and I think they showed it on the theaters. They said it was like to honor, the DP that died, the cinematographer that died. I don't know if she was DP or cinematographer, but the one that was shot and died. They did that to honor her because that was her last work. That that was the last thing she did, and so they finished the film. They released it. I don't know if it's still in theaters. It probably isn't. It might be available on some streaming service, or maybe not. I don't know. But I was surprised to hear that they even, were able to finish it. I never heard about them going back. or maybe they had everything they needed at that point when that happened, and they were able to just finish it with what they had. I don't know, but because I never heard of I never remember hearing any news or anything about them going back into production. Non-useless says my uncle was in the movie Paint Your Wagon. He played an Indian because he was half Cherokee. The movie took place near Lake Tahoe, and I believe that they did a lot of filming up in Big Bear, California. Because I lived in Big Bear when I was about 8 years old, so about 1968 or 69, whenever. And I'm pretty sure it may have been set in Tahoe, and they may have done some filming up in Tahoe area, but they did a lot of filming in Big Bear also, which is closer to LA. Big Bear is only, what is it, like 80 miles east of LA, northeast of LA or whatever. And I remember being up there when they were filming, and of course that was the talk of the town. It was like, oh, Clint Eastwood and what's his face? God, why am I not remembering names? The guy. Anyhow, whatever. But it was all the talk of the town that they were filming out there out in the woods, the Big Bear. Rejoining correctly. It's the catering that'll get you. Brooklyn, Mark Wahlberg, sexy. He's a cool dude. He's a cool little dude. He was like, say, hey man. He goes, I think he did he would say stuff like because we would sit at the bar together, and he's like, man, you guys are doing a great job out there. He was like trying to always like, I don't know, keep us pumped up or whatever. He's like, man, you guys are doing a great job out there, man. I was like, thanks, Mark. Brooklyn, I didn't know this side of you. Every now and then, I guess I have to I don't know, go over it again because people come in that later at later times. Hey, Terry Taylor says Terry Taylor says, dang TJ, you're a regular movie star. So cool that you were an extra and an ape in the Planet of the Apes. How did you get started in being an extra? Well, basically, for Planet of the Apes, I answered an ad in the local newspaper because they were filming out in the desert, and I lived in the desert, even though where they did film was still about 90 miles, at least, I think, from where I lived. But they had a big ad in the paper, and they were taking, I guess you would call it auditions, but basically they wanted people of a certain size and stature, and they had two different ones. And they had apes, which were smaller, and they had the gorillas, which would be bigger. And I think I was right at the line where I could have gone either way. Because I remember, because they make you go through this little physical thing where they watch you do like these, what in football we would call them monkey rolls or barrel rolls. And in football we call them bear crawling, where you're all on all fours and you have to do a distance kind of fast. All this stuff was second nature to me because all this stuff was stuff we used to do in football. And my brother, he also tried out. And my brother's a little bit shorter than me, maybe an inch or two shorter than me. And he never played sports. And he had a hard time with doing those monkey rolls and barrel rolls and bear crawling. He was having a hard time. But for me, it was just natural. And I'm not saying that I'm better or anything like that. I'm just saying, I played a lot of football over the years. And so this stuff was it was second nature. And if you have never played football or if you've never done sports and you've never done those type of drills, I guess you call it, then I could see how you might have a hard time doing it. But for me, it was second nature, and I just did it. So I passed. I got moved on to the next thing, and my brother, unfortunately, they didn't call him back. But for me, so they called me back, and they were taking my measurements, my height measurements, my waist, or whatever, my inseam, and all that shit. Because this was the costume department. The costumers that was led by, and I can't remember her name either, but she's won Oscars the one who was the head of the costuming, and they were going to put me in an ape suit. I mean, as being like a chimpanzee, and I was like, no, I'm a gorilla, and they're like, you have to be 6 feet tall to be a gorilla, and I go, I am 6 feet tall, and for some reason, I guess I didn't, maybe because I'm stocky, maybe I didn't look 6 feet, but I go measure it. You can have a tape measure. So they measured me, and I was exactly 72 inches, and 72 inches is 6 feet. And so she goes, all right, you're a gorilla. But if I hadn't made a stink about it, they would have made me a fucking chimpanzee, and I probably would have walked off. I probably would have quit. I'm not going to be a fucking chimp. I'm a fucking gorilla, man. So they measured me. I'm exactly 72 inches, and I got to be a gorilla. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. They were going to make me a fucking chimp. Look at the chimps. If you look at that picture, those are chimps in the background there. Do I look like a fucking chimp? No, I'm a gorilla. I might be a smaller gorilla, but I'm a gorilla nevertheless. Because they like the guys. A lot of the gorillas were like 6'4" and 6'5". They liked them because Michael, what's the guy's name? The guy from the Green Mile, Michael Clark Duncan or whatever. He was a like the leader of the gorillas, and that dude's huge. He's like fucking 6'8" or something, or 6'7". I don't know. He was huge. So they wanted the gorillas to be, and he was a gorilla. So they wanted a lot of gorillas to be like that, like 6'5" or something. So I was a 6-footer. So I'm one of those short gorillas, but God damn it, I ain't a chimp. So that's a story that you can tell your grandkids about now. Helen Bonham Carter, yes, the Soulcraft, that's it. So I believe Tim Burton was in a relationship with this blonde chick who's an actress, and she's not the human blonde. It was some other really minor, but I think she was also one of a chimp. She was in costume. So, but I think that was his girlfriend, and then during the shoot of that, he switched from her over to Helena. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because, and the thing is, they were all sitting at the same tables, like in the bars and stuff. So maybe it was very amicable, maybe? I don't know. But there was definitely a switch that happened during that shoot. It was a long shoot. A lot of things happened. I mean, they were shooting that for months. I was involved in it for about 3 months, and they had been doing a lot of shooting even 3 months before I even got on there. Brooklyn says the Rust release was to get Baldwin as much money as possible. No, well, what I heard, what they said on that review thing was that they did it in honor of the woman who was killed, to show her work. Maybe to get her money. Maybe that's how it got. Maybe that's how it got her and her family, her survivors. Maybe that's how they got money. I don't know. Brooklyn says Italians aren't angry; they just talk like that. The Soulcraft. I still submit screenplay to Paramount for Star Trek. They'll log them in and send it back usually. I'm going to write. I mentioned this the other day. I'm going to start writing a Western. Speaking of Rust, I am working on a Western screenplay. I'm going to write it. I don't care, because a lot of reasons why I don't write is because I'm like, well, I'm never going to get produced. I'm old. I'm 64 years old. No one wants to start something with a 64-year-old that has no track record. I mean, I have really nothing other than feet on the dashboard. And so I don't write, but I'm going to write. I'm going to write a Western. And God damn it, I don't care if I have to get a hold of, Scully, and where they read plays and shit. I might just ask Scully if he wants some material. Maybe they'll read my screenplay. I don't know. But I'm writing a screenplay. It's a Western. And maybe it'll never get produced into a movie. Maybe I can get some people together and we can do just a table read on it or something, and I film that. That might be fun. I don't know. Lee Marvin, yes, Lee Marvin, non-useful Why could I not remember Lee fucking Marvin? But yeah, they filmed a bunch of that up in Big Bear, which is in Southern California. Brooklyn, do you have a brother? Yeah, I got a brother and a sister. We haven't talked since 2016 when Trump won, and it's not really my doing. They're the ones that cut me off because I tried to get a hold of them. I tried, reached out, and they just ignored me. So, because I'm not a maggot. I'm not sufficiently maggot enough for them. Apparently, I have blasphemed against their Lord and Savior Donald Trump. So they've just excised me from their life, I guess. Mr. Bob Newell, are you friends with Tom Cruise? I am not. I've never met Tom Cruise. I've never worked on any Tom Cruise movies. Mr. Bob Newell, what was the name of the gorilla? I told you. That's the red ape soldier. Nick Ridge, John's not a chimp. Brooklyn, John's no chump. TJ showed him his silverback. Gorilla eyebrows. Yeah, Pamela, yeah. I'm like, do you see these eyebrows? Do these look like chimp eyebrows to you? They're like, well, yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, Brooklyn, the guy from Green Mile passed away. Yeah, he passed away not too long after that movie, I think. A few years later. He was a big dude, man. And he was cool. I remember walking by him a few times and just saying, hey, Mike. And he would go, hey, man. He was like, he'd do the kind of like a little, not really a fist bump, but kind of this kind of a thing. I think this predated fist bumps. And it was just sort of like the, where you just go like, hey. I think MCD did that to me. We called him MCD. Rosanna says 1:30 up there in Taos. Brooklyn, write it and they will come. Mr. Abdullah, have you been to Tombstone? I have, but it was a long, long time ago. I'm pretty sure. I think when I was a little kid, this is back in the probably early 70s or late 60s, early 70s. I'm pretty sure we went to Tombstone and walked around and looked at it. The Soulcraft says Paul Giamatti was great. He was supposed to play Philip K. Dick in a version of Valis, but it never happened. Paul Giamatti was probably the coolest dude that I met. Really cool dude. We had a beer together. We shot some pool together. He was cool. Pamela, Lee Marvin is dead. Yeah, well, as it is, it's. Oh yeah, because Bob Newell says Lee Marvin's still working. Only up in heaven. Brooklyn says Lee Marvin and his Gallimony case. We talked about that in the pharmacy law class. Yeah, that was the big case that set the precedent for what they call palimony, right? Yeah, and for getting for like couples that weren't married but were in long-term relationships. Yeah, Gallimony, palimony, yeah. Rosanna says, my family is MAGA and they don't like me anymore. I hear you. Mr. Bob Newell, is Gil Hodges still playing? Too soon? He's playing in the Iowa cornfield, probably. Terry Taylor, I'm so sorry, TJ, about your siblings. It's their loss. It is. Maybe someday, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if my daughter invited him to her wedding. I told her that if she wants to, she can. Or at least her cousins and stuff, or, I don't know if she'd sent out invitations to them or not. I really don't know. But the Soulcraft says you might animate it. Oh yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah, with all they're doing with the work with Mobius. He had a Western comic called Blueberry People. I would like to look into that. Yeah, if I could figure out how to do like a AI Get a good AI program, I guess. I could animate it. Maybe Hal could help me with that. This whole time I had it on top messages instead of all messages, by the way. I don't know if I missed what I missed. But anyhow, the Soulcraft, I think he was only 50. I think we're talking about Michael Clark Duncan or whatever. Yeah, he was relatively young. He seemed like a big, healthy, strong dude, but I forget what he died of, but heart attack or something, maybe? I don't know. Hey, there's Marsha with a $2 super sticker. Thank you, Marsha. Yippee! $2. Love you, Trucker John. Not up to chatting today. Well, I hope you feel better. Just rest and just lurk away. But thank you for that super sticker. Brooklyn, New York says Lee Marvin wasn't a slander case because it was all true. Yeah, it isn't slander if it's true, right? Mr. Bob Newell, who's cooler, Lee Marvin or Clint Eastwood? Clint, who I believe just turned 95 the other day. Common law. Yeah, Pam J. The Soulcraft says, I used to love Colorado Springs. Haven't been back since the fires. Oh, that's right. They had a bunch of big fires there, huh? Marie Jane Greco says, I only have 2 sisters left in my family, both MAGA now. Only talk to them occasionally. Pam J says that Lee Marvin was definitely cooler. Clinton is still warm and moving around. Oh, I get you. I think I get you. I think I get it. Mr. Rob Newell's Clint Eastwood still alive? Yeah, he just turned 95. And Pam J says, yes, Clint is 95. Now, I don't think he's working anymore. What's the last thing he did? He did that movie. I saw it. It was pretty good, I think, where he was smuggling. He was like a mule for the cartels, and it was based on a true story. And it was like an old man, and he was an old man playing an old man. So he would be not suspected. He wasn't your usual drug mule. I think that might have been the last thing that that was, what, 5 years ago or maybe longer now. Because time flies so fast. Not sure if he's been in anything since then. I really didn't know. I didn't know. Let's see here. I think I've got. I might not have a. I think there's a limit to how many pictures I can post on there on the screen. I might not be able to do any more. I did do a movie right after, or not too long after Planet of the Apes. A few months later, I guess, or I don't know. Let's see. It was a Jim Carrey movie called The Majestic, and it was set in. I think it was supposed to be either late 1940s or early 1950s. It was supposed to be like during the time of, kind of like the McCarthy era with the communist scare type of thing, where they were like blacklisting people. I was in that movie. I had a picture of. I guess it's not on my thing anymore. Guess it's not in there anymore. But here's me in high school. See, this is when I played in high school and football. I mean, I played football in high school, and you can see I definitely had the makings of a gorilla. And I was very so getting into the ape costume and doing monkey rolls was no big deal for me. No big deal whatsoever. I don't know why that's so big of a picture. Oh well. MJ Daniel says, almost ran into Clint skiing in Sun Valley, Idaho at the lodge back in the 80s. Also met Bruce Willis there. Nice. Pam J. Clint Eastwood can't sing. Prove paint your wagon. Eek. Yeah, that's right. The I guess the catch or the I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but the thing about Paint Your Wagon is that it was a musical. It was a western starring, Clint Eastwood, who was already known for his westerns, and Lee Marvin, who was this tough guy, had his tough guy image, and they were singing. That was the whole kind of, I guess, funny thing about it, or kind of an opposite world, or something you weren't really expecting to see those guys breaking out into song. It's been a long time since I watched that movie, but as I recall, I think I liked it. I think it was, I don't expect Clint Eastwood to sound like Pavarotti or whatever. The Soulcraft 66 Killer. Yeah, that was number 66. Marie, what position? I was defensive tackle primarily. Of course, yeah. Of course, I played some O line, but mainly nose tackle, defensive tackle. Depending on the defense we would go, if we were odd or even, sometimes I'd be over the center like a nose guard. Mainly, I would say mostly over the tackles. I was mostly defensive tackle. Every now and then filled in at linebacker, just sparingly, but mainly defensive tackle. And I love playing defensive tackle. Linebacker, Socrates says linebacker, O-line, or D-line. I was mainly D-line, Territory, great picture. Hey, there's Domino Captures is here. Hey, Domino, good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm doing good, and I hope you're doing good also. Thanks for coming in and checking out and hanging out for a bit. MJ Daniel, none of them in that movie could sing, but I think that's kind of the point. I mean, they didn't want to have, I think, singers. They wanted people who were known for being like in these tough guy movies, and then all of a sudden breaking out into song. That was the hook, the catch. I don't know. MJ Daniel, it was Anne Margaret, Anne Margrock, I think. I don't know who the chick was. Oh, no, Jane Fonda. The one you're thinking of, Brooklyn, I think, with Lee Marvin and Jane Fonda, was Cat Ballou. Another movie I remember as a kid, they would show it on TV a lot. I'm not sure if I ever saw it in the movie theater. It might have only been on TV. But I remember I loved that movie. I just love that movie, Cat Ballou. And yeah, so it had Jane Fonda when she was just young and cute as a button, and then Lee Marvin, and then these other dweebs, these dweeby dudes. But yeah, that would be Cat Ballou. Brooklyn, New York says I played violin in high school. Well, that's cool. The Soulcraft, I was a corner and wide receiver. All right, awesome. Skill position. You were a skill player. I was just one of the grunts. Marsha, mostly lurking today. Thanks for being here. Brooklyn, New York, Von Ryan's Express with Frank Sinatra. They didn't sing in that, did they? I don't think they broke out into song. Pam J. Leave Marvin and Jane Fonda was Cat Ballou. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Cat Ballou. I like that movie. The Soulcraft and Margaret. Oh, wait. Yeah, Anne Margaret is in that Goofy movie with Joe Namath about motorcycle. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. I remember that movie. I can't remember the name of that, but yeah. Domino Captures. What about Goodfellas? What about Goodfellas? Great movie. I don't think Anne Margaret or Lee Marvin or Clint Eastwood were in that movie, but or Jane Fonda. Nick Rich and Margaret did movies with Elvis. Yeah, well, at least one, Viva Las Vegas, right? And as goofy and corny as that movie is, I love that movie too. Soul Prep Hams, I was special teams too. Well, yeah, I was special teams. I was on all because you got to have linemen. So I was on the line on punt team, punt return, kickoff return. I was out there. Pam J. Oh no, the Soulcraft is that one. Is that the one they show the clip of in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Sharon's in the theater? I can't remember the song. Oh yeah, what was she watching? And there was actually Sharon Tate. That was the thing. That was what's her face playing Sharon Tate, watching a film that actually had Sharon Tate in it. And it kind of just brings it home. Like they could have Tarantino could have, I guess, filmed like a little fake scene using the actors, and instead of using the actual clip. But this way, at least the way I look at it, I don't know if this is what Tarantino was thinking, but this way you can see the real Sharon Tate, and you can see that she was in the film business as an actress, and that she was just starting out, and she might have gone on to bigger and better things, from that movie. But she was murdered, cut short. So got behind the green door. Brooklyn says Paul Lynde and Anne Margaret and Jerry Lewis. I don't know. Are we just throwing names out now? Like, Paul Lynde. I think Paul Lynde and Anne Margaret were in. God, what's that movie musical type of thing? Where she played I think she played the daughter. I think Paul Lynde was her father. That was a musical. I don't remember Jerry Lewis being in that. I don't know if those three were ever in a movie together. But anyhow. Why can't I remember the Paul? Wasn't Anne Margaret very famous? It was a pretty famous movie, especially back then. And I don't know if people remember it now, but it was really famous back then. I can't remember it. Oh yeah, C.C. Ryder or C.C. and Company for the Joe Namath one. MJ Daniel. We're just throwing names out. Gene Seenberg, not Anne Margaret. MJ Daniel. Anne Mardrock was the Flintstones. Oh yeah, that's right. Bye Bye Birdie. Yes, that's it. Marie Jane Greco. Bye Bye Birdie. That was Anne Margaret. And I think, wasn't Paul Lynde like the father or something? If I remember correctly. Sandy Fultz says hi to Terry Taylor. Soulcraft. If only an out-of-work stuntman had lived next to her, right? In the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, if only the teamwork actually of the out-of-work stuntman and the kind of washed-up Western star. If only. MJ Center Square. Yeah, Paul Lynde, right? Fancy's back. MJ Daniel. I know Ann Margaret was in Tommy. I think that might have been one of the movies that popped up on YouTube or something, like last year. I remember telling you guys I was watching Ann Margaret. I was watching Tommy, and Ann Margaret was just smoking hot, man, in Tommy. Smoking hot. Brooklyn, sorry, Dick Van Dyke. Was Dick Van Dyke in Bye Bye Birdie? I don't know. Fancy, search Ann Margaret Tequila. Pam J. Jeepers, don't you kids ever watch these old musicals? They're great. I've never really been into musicals all that much. Really not. The Soulcraft says DVD is still around too, like 100, I think. Marie J. Greco, musicals were my life. I've never been a big musical fan. I've watched a few of them, but they're okay. Soulcraft, yeah, she was Jane Fonda and Barbarella. Yeah, Jane Fonda was hot in Barbarella. Absolutely. Brooklyn, Dick Van Dyke and Janet Leigh. What about them? What movie were they in? When I think of Dick Van Dyke and I think of Mary Poppins, when I think of Janet Leigh, I think of wasn't she the one in the Alfred Hitchcock movie? No, I think I'm done with that. Prime J says, kids, I don't know what's wrong with these kids today. Kids who can understand anything they say. Sandy Fold says, TJ, I had bought a super sticker yesterday, but you never. I did say something, Sandy. I did. At least 2 or 3 times. I gave you a yippee and everything. So I did. I recall that I did. You can go back and watch it over again. You'll see that I did. Doug G. Tommy is Trucker John's helper. Whatever happened? Where Tom? I haven't seen Tommy around. I think Tough Cookie and Paul the Purple Beard guy kind of took over for Tommy. I haven't seen Tommy in a while. Nick Rich, I saw Jesus Christ Superstar on stage in London, spring 1975. Wow. That must have been pretty cool. Oh, Brooklyn, Bye Bye Birdie, Dick Van Dyke, and Janet Leigh. Okay, so were they the parents? Was Paul Lynde just some sort of neighbor or something? I don't know. It's been so long since I saw Bye Bye Birdie. Sunny Foltz, I saw Annie in a play. Yeah, I know it's a song, Pam. I just didn't want to sing it because people will say, John, please don't sing. The Soulcraft says, dude that did Jesus Christ Superstar movie was the motel assistant in The Shining. Oh. Wow, I didn't know that. And I think that guy who played Jesus, at least up until recently, I think is still playing Jesus still doing that production. At least as of a few years ago. I don't know. Which I thought was kind of funny because, he's not a young man anymore. Brooklyn Bobby Rydell. I remember Bobby Rydell. What was he in? Well, I know he was a big pop star in the 60s. Was he also in Bye Bye Birdie? It's been so long since I saw Bye Bye Birdie that I don't really remember who was in it and who wasn't in it. Marie Jane Greco says, I was in a local version of Jesus Christ Superstar in my 20s. Nice. I bet that was fun. Nick Rich with some song lyrics, I believe. What's the buzz? Tell me what's a happening. Was that from Jesus Christ Superstar? Sandy Foltz says I have a great voice and sing great. Well, thank you, Sandy. Not everyone agrees with you. The Soulcraft says, wait, I was off. A little dude played Pontius Pilate, not Jesus. Oh, well, that's a big difference. But anyhow, but the guy who played Jesus, I believe, as of at least a few years ago, was still playing Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. MJ Daniel McQueen was a real racer. Yeah, he was. Steve McQueen. He was big into racing. And everything. Motorcycles, cars, off-roader vehicles, everything, yeah. Pam J, Bye Bye Birdie, laughing out loud. What is so funny? I don't get it. What the Nick Rich lyric was from Bye Bye Birdie? Well, I wasn't sure because I know that he was talking about Jesus Christ Superstar also. So, the Soulcraft. Wow, is he actually a deity? Mr. Bob Newell. I met Dr. Mark Spitz, the Olympic swimmer of, I believe, the 1972 Olympics, where I believe he won, I think, 7 medals. I don't know if they were all gold. At the time, I think he set all kinds of records in terms of not only the swimming times, but in winning those medals. And I believe that was the 72 Olympics was the one that was marred by the horrible terrorist attack by, I guess it was the PLO, I think, who had kidnapped a bunch of the Israeli athletes, and they had that horrible incident where they were in the helicopter and someone dropped a grenade in there and they killed themselves and killed a bunch of the Israeli athletes. The raid on Entebbe, remember that? That was all the same. That was all during the same Olympics, I believe. At 72, I think that was also when the person by that at that time going by the name of Bruce Jenner won gold for the what was it that Bruce did? He did a few different events, but it was a track and field event. Yeah, so anyhow, very, very memorable Olympics. Brooklyn, New York says Grumpy Old Men with Anne Margaret, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau. Yeah, I remember that one. Swimmer, yeah. Mark Spitz, yeah, swimmer. Pam J, the only person in Bye Bye Birdie that wasn't a big star was the guy who played Birdie. Was it Bobby Rydell? I don't know. Who played Birdie? I don't even remember. It's been that long. Brooklyn says Mark Spitz tried acting and then became a dentist. Pam J says Ed Sullivan wasn't only in Bye Bye Birdie, but they wrote a song about him. Wow. Sandy Foltz says, speaking of Jesus, there was a guy the other day walking down the road, maybe, dressed as Jesus. He was carrying a huge cross. He looked like the guy in the movie. Well, they all kind of look alike. In the depiction of Christ, if they go by the 16th century portraits that were painted by Europeans or whatever. Marie Jane Greco, I think you are correct, Pam. The Soulcraft says, what was the diver that cracked his head on the diving platform? Oh, I think that was Louganis, Greg Louganis. That would be, was that in the 90s, probably? Maria Jane Greco, we're going to be on Ed Sullivan. Now I feel like I got to watch Bye Bye Birdie again because it's probably been who knows how many years since I saw that movie. Probably decades at this point, you know? Probably decades since I've seen Bye Bye Birdie. I did watch a few more episodes of Shameless, season 9. At this point, I'm thinking the show has pretty much jumped the shark. But I think there's 11 seasons, so I'm going to finish it out like a trooper. I'm going to be a trooper. Golf Marine Joe Namath is peak in 60s, 70s. Oh, yeah, well, absolutely. Marie Jane Greco, watch it, TJ. You'll love it. As I recall, I think I did enjoy watching it. Was so many decades ago. Sandy Fulton says, my pastor said he was waiting for Jesus to come and heal him. Maybe that was the guy. I guess you never know. Pam J says, you do. It's such a good movie. All right. Maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. Golf Marine, a guy dressed as a bird dressed as Jesus. Marie Jean Greco, put on a happy face. Is that in the movie? Was that song in the movie? I don't remember all the songs. Put on a happy face. I remember the song. That's a very popular song. I don't remember if that's in Bye Bye Birdie or not. I just don't recall. It's been so long since I saw it. I don't recall. I don't recall it all. Brooklyn says, put an eyebrow on your happy face. Soulcraft says, I can watch a musical play live, but not on film. Interesting. Here's the musicals I remember watching as a kid on TV, basically. I don't, because on TV they would play a lot of cool movies. This is like before we had even VHS, so everything was on TV. But I remember seeing, and they would repeat them a lot, like at least every year, or sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. I remember The King and I really liked that with Yul Brynner. I remember South Pacific. I remember liking these films. I don't know if I would like them now. I don't know, but I remember as a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old watching because that's what we would watch as a family or whatever. So yeah, it was The King and I, South Pacific, Oklahoma. Remember that one? The Sound of Music. I remember that. Let's see, what else? What kind of the big ones? The big musicals that would always get played on TV. I guess those are the main ones that I remember. Brooklyn, I'd like to see Hamilton. I watched Hamilton when Disney put it out like a few years ago. It was kind of like a big deal because I think it was like the premiere of showing it on a TV or whatever. And I gotta say, I was not really that impressed with it. Maybe because of the hype, it just didn't live up to the hype. you know, to me. One of the kids is out there crying his head off. There's kids playing, and one of them is crying. Nick Rich, yeah, get gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. The Soulcraft, the Hobbit animated movie would come in every Thanksgiving. I don't. That must have been after my time as a kid or whatever, because I don't remember that. Oh yeah, Brooklyn Picnic with William Holden. I remember that. I remember liking that. I think I just saw it on TV. You know. Brooklyn, New York. Kim Novak. Was she the one in Picnic? Pam J says, "Want to see a strange movie? Watch Brewster McCloud with Bud Cort." Brewster McCloud. I'm trying to think if I've ever heard of that. Goth Marine says, "I saw the last Bob Hope USO overseas tour aboard USS Okinawa, December '88, with Barbara Eden. Bob Hope was a dick to his crew when the camera was not rolling." I kind of heard that he was a dick, which is unfortunate because I remember watching as a kid, watching all the Bob Hope specials, you know, and the USO tours and all that stuff, and he, you know, and all the Bob Hope movies would be on TV, and he was funny, and he seemed like a really funny, kind of a cool guy, or you know, funny guy, I guess. And then I have heard stories about him being kind of a dick, and you know, they always say don't meet your idols. Not that he was really like an idol, but you know, I guess if there's any, you know, if you kind of look up to or you like certain people in show business and you actually meet them, you might be disappointed. Disappointed, you know. Terry Taylor says the only musical I watched over and over was Grease. I was in love with John Travolta. I saw Grease when it came out. I was in high school, I think. I was either junior or senior year, I think, when it came out in the movies. I guess, you know, it had been a Broadway play. And, you know, it was cool. I mean, it was okay. I'm really not into musicals. But it was okay. You know, it was good. It was a good musical. Okay, I'm going to say it was good. Um, and I think I've seen it a couple times. But it's not something like I just want to see over and over again or whatever. But it's okay. I mean, if you like musicals, then then I can see how it would be a great classic musical. This will grab same except Olivia Newton-John. That leather, yeah. Olivia Newton-John was hot and gorgeous. Nick Rich, I always get a laugh from the Three Stooges. I remember watching some Three Stooges on TV, a little bit on TV. They would play it on, you know, like on the afternoons on KCAL, Channel 9 or whatever. But mainly what I remember the Three Stooges was from, I guess it was Straw Hat Pizza or pizza place. It wasn't really it wasn't Shakey's. I think it was Straw Hat Pizza. And they would always play, I have old Three Stooges or Spanky and the Gang or, you know, Laurel and Hardy. And we would always go in there and have pizza. And that, I remember, that's my main memory of watching those shows was from going there. Because that was where either I would go there with my family a lot, or when I was in high school, that was kind of our hangout after football games. It was all that meet over there, and we'd go there and get pizza and stuff that's where we'd find out where the parties were, you know. Marie Jean Greco says, I've probably seen Grease 200 times. Wow. That's a lot of times to watch a movie. That is a lot. Because I've seen movies that I like Pulp Fiction or even Die Hard. and I kind of think like I must have seen these movies hundreds of times because I watch them over and over again. But realistically, I bet you I haven't seen Die Hard more than I bet you I haven't watched it more than 20 times. Probably. And that's one of my favorite all-time movies. And so when I think about it, I just think I've watched that movie hundreds of times, but I bet you I haven't watched it more than 20. Same with Pulp Fiction or even like the Kill Bill movies. I love those movies. And I've probably only watched Pulp Fiction, I bet you less than 20 times. Even though it seems like hundreds, you know? Pam J says it's rather obscure. Bud Cort plays Brewster, a young man determined to fly. Sally Kellerman plays his evil enabler. Was Bud Cort the guy that was in that one movie with the old lady? I know Bud Cort, that name, and I know that if you tell me what he was in, I would recognize it. The Soulcraft, great song called Kill Your Heroes by AWOL Nation. I like AWOL Nation. Gulf Marine says the ship's baker made this killer huge, intricately decorated cake for the occasion, complete with a big-nosed caricature of Bob. Terry Taylor laughing out loud, Marie. We go to the movie theater almost every weekend to see Grease. I've probably seen it 200 times too. Wow. You have got to really, really love a movie to see it that many times. Soul Crap, movie talk with TJ. I can dig it. Yeah, we're talking a lot of movies. Nick Rich, yuck, 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 yuck. You know, that's the Three Stooges thing. Brooklyn, New York, I bought Saturday Night Fever on YouTube. Obsessed. Saturday Night Fever, that was a big movie, big hit. The Soulcraft, I've probably seen a Scanner Darkly nearly 100, and it's not old. Maybe Star Wars. There's no movie I've seen, I don't think, even close to 100 times. Even though there's quite a few movies that I've seen several times, movies that I like even the Star Wars movies. And I used to own all of them. First it was on VHS, then I got all the DVD collection. And, I doubt I've watched any of those more than 15 or 20 times. Oh yeah, Ruth Gordon, Harold and Maude. Yes, that's the one I was thinking of, Pam J. Was that Bud Cort in that movie? Brie Jane Greco, my first concert was BG Saturday Night Fever tour. I think it was 9 or 10. I think I was 9 or 10. Wait, I think it's 9 or 10. Fantastic. I don't know. Were you 9 or 10 or what? Brooklyn, I forgot the old lady's name. Well, yeah, I guess that was Ruth Gordon. Was it Ruth Gordon? Yeah. Golf Marine, what are the pics of? I guess you came late, Golf Marine. That's just me as an extra on the Planet of the Apes movie from 2001. Sandy Foltz says, did you ever see the movie Riding the Bus with my sister Rosie O'Donnell? I don't think I did. I remember hearing about it, and it got critical acclaim. I think, wasn't the sister like mentally challenged or something like that? And I don't think I ever saw it though, but I heard it was really good. Brooklyn, New York, my only concert was Neil Diamond 3 times. In fact, wow. John Glad just here, but American Graffiti. I liked American Graffiti. That wasn't really a musical. It had a lot of music in it. Not really a musical, but I liked it. One of What's the Face's early movies. George Lucas movie, right? We saw a very young, why am I having a hard time with names? Han Solo. This is starting to worry me now. But yeah, American Graffiti. I like that movie. The Soulcraft says Saturday Night Fever is so cheesy to me. I crack up trying to watch it. It makes my one female friend mad. Well, yeah, I mean, when we look back at movies from a certain era, a certain time, things can be really cheesy looking. Sandy Folks says, "Have you seen the movie Mask?" Which I have. I remember. I don't think I've seen it probably since it came out back in the '80s, mid '80s or something. But I remember it was a good movie and I liked it. Thought it was a pretty good movie. Danielberry Sports Highlights is here. Hey everybody, hello Danielberry Sports Highlights. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Brooklyn says, my grandparents live in Bensonhurst near Bay Bridge, where Saturday Night Fever was. Yeah, that's sort of an area. I think we've seen that in a lot of movies, that area, over the years. Golf Marine says, Dawn of the Dead used to be the midnight movie at the local mall for about 3 to 4 years when I was a teen. Every Friday night, I saw it a lot. Dawn of the Dead. Was that the George Romero movie, I guess? Brooklyn says Mask was great, Sandy Foltz. Golf Marina was total group participation like Rocky Horror. Now, I've seen Rocky Horror. You know, they used to always have the midnight showings at certain theaters. I think I did that twice, maybe 3 times. The Soulcraft, Cameron Diaz is beautiful in The Mask. Yeah, she's beautiful in a lot of things. Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to watch Saturday Night Fever after this. Yeah, why not? Maybe it's showing on YouTube. The Soulcraft says, oh, and that movie where she's at a beach house with Mr. Wolf, the movie is great, and I blanked on the name. I don't know that one either. Yeah. Hey guys, I think I need to end the show. We're at over 2 hours, and I know my battery was under 100%, and it might be near death, the battery on my phone. I still haven't got the thing that someone said I should get. All right, guys. So I don't know. Is anything else playing that we should go raid? I do appreciate you guys. I did see we went over to the Terror Show yesterday, and a bunch of you guys did a Trucker John raid, and I appreciate that. The Soulcraft, Head Above Water with Harvey Keitel. I don't think I ever saw that movie. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything on right now that we can maybe raid over to? Let's see. I don't really see anything right now. Nicole Sandler comes on at 2, but I can't go another 40 minutes. My phone will die for sure. So, yeah, I don't really see anything that we could just jump over to. Oh, well. Hey, Brooklyn, 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, Brooklyn. Yippee! For that, I do appreciate you. Government cannot stop the battery. Michael McAndrews, Sugar John Raid. Oh, oops. Hey, Michael, good to see you. I haven't seen you this whole time, so thanks for jumping on in right before I leave. Pam J found it. The Soulcraft says it It's really good. Must watch movie. Only 5 people in the whole movie. Was that the beach head over water thing? Yeah, I don't think I don't recall that movie. I don't recall it at all. Not at all. Marcia, thanks for the interesting chat. Sandy, don't forget to go to the leasing office. Okay, I won't. Terry Taylor, thanks so much. TJ, love chatting with you all. So crap, Boston Brian. Yeah, I believe Boston Brian will be on. Also, don't forget Liberal Dan. If you guys can go, I know we get split. When 2 shows are on at the same time, it happens all the time. I usually try to go back and forth a little bit. At least give one channel a like, and at least watch for a few minutes. So Liberal Dan will come on at 6. It's 8 o'clock Central tonight. Boston Brian, I believe, is 5:30 my time, unless he's changed his time, because I guess he's going on at the West Coast now. Maybe Barstow, I don't know. But I try to give both those channels love. Because I love both those guys, love the channels. So yeah, Boston Brian's on tonight. I guess around 5:30 Pacific time. Liberal Dan comes on at 6. So if you have 2 devices, or if you can go back and forth, I recommend you guys at least try to do that. Try to give, because getting likes and subscribes and some watch time, it does help the channels. And everyone who does a channel, we are trying to grow our channels. That's just the way it is. And I don't know if it sounds bad to you guys that we try to do that, if it's a bad thing. But we all want our channels to grow. And we all want lots of subscribers and lots of viewers. Because it seems like we're not just doing this for nothing. And not that you guys are nothing. I don't mean that. But we want to grow and be, and because I think all of us feel that we have something of value to bring. I don't know what I do. I just kind of chat with you guys. But I think that's valuable because you guys enjoy the chats and interacting. But, and in my own little way, I try to sneak in some stuff, about, maybe some stupid shit that Trump's doing or whatever. I know Liberal Dan and Boston Brian, they are much more focused on, and I think they have better equipment and they're able. I can't really play clips and stuff. I'm not able to do that. When I've tried to do clips on here on my little setup, the volume is really low. I have no way of controlling the volume, so I just don't really do it. And I'm not really set up for it. But each channel, whoever you like, Jetta, 21st Century Suffragettes, even as like Nicole Sandler or Hal Sparks, whatever, the Two Terras, they're all trying to get out information, like good, valuable information that we all need to hear that might not be getting its due, like say in mainstream media. Or we're trying to combat. I think a lot of us we're trying to combat this disparity of treatment, this overlooking of how Trump is really in cognitive decline, let's say, but all the focus in mainstream media is on Joe Biden. And so a lot of us, we have that kind of, our attitude, I think, and our goal is to try to get out and make things more even and get things out that aren't getting out. So if you can see Major Ojeda and Boston Brian and Liberal Dan and all these guys, and sometimes their shows interact or they cross. They don't interact so much, but they, the times are on interact or whatever. Try to go on each show, give them a thumb up, give them a like, spend a couple minutes on there, maybe say hi in the chat. It does help the shows, and then but you're gonna eventually migrate to the show that you probably like the best. We all have our favorites or whatever, and you're gonna pick one. But if you could just spend a couple minutes on each show with a like and a subscribe, maybe drop a comment, and then listen to the show for a minute or two, and then you're going to go to whichever one your favorite is. That's all I ask. All right, guys, and there's Jolie has a link to Liberal Dan. They're Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. Check it all out. Check them all out. Let's help all of the. Maybe I don't always get into politics, but I am liberal, I am progressive, I'm a Democrat, and so is Liberal Dan, and so is Boston Brian, so is Hal. So let's support all of those type of shows as much as we can. That's kind of all I ask. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and leave us now before the thing goes off and before it just cuts off and dies. So real quick, get your pad, get your paper pad, pen, some crayons, Sharpies, whatever it is, and write this down because we've got some words of wisdom, Trucker John words of wisdom coming up right now. All right, here we go. And so just, here we go. Ready? Here we go.
Well, it's time to say goodbye. The show has come to an end. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Have some fun times, hopefully nothing too bad. We might talk about war crimes, might talk about Baghdad. I doubt we'll talk about door chimes, but if we did, I'd be only too glad. So hasta la vista, baby. The show is over, but could I ask you maybe to take a shower? No, that's not what I meant, but I couldn't think of anything to rhyme with over. All screwed up. Oh shit, I should have stuck to truck driving, who I tried to kill. At least when I was out there driving, I could handle a skid. But doing this live stream, baby, has been a real kid. So I hope to see y'all again right here on Trucker John live stream. We're gonna do it again and again, right here in the Trucker John live stream. Yeah, the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna come back and do it all again. No, this ain't no dream. This is where right here on the Trucker John live stream. Know it's time to say goodbye. The show is coming in. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Trucker John, on the road he rides, live streaming all through the nights. From politics to pop culture he speaks. No topic is off limits, nothing is weak. From Vegas to the highways, he'll never tire. Shouting about food, talking about desire. He's the rebel of the asphalt, the king of the night. With a microphone in his hand, he's ready to ignite. Freedom is his fuel, passion in his soul. Gotta express himself, gotta take control. Moving through the country, keeping it real, no filter, no holding back, nothing to conceal. Rolling down the highway in my rusty old rig. I'm a retired trucker, but my spirit's still big. Living in Vegas, where the lights never sleep. Broadcasting my thoughts for the world to keep. From politics to pop culture, I've got it all. Sharing my views, no matter how big or small. Talking about food and movies and bugs, shining a light on all the social issues. No shrugs, I've driven through the desert, seen the city so bright. But now I'm living in a different kind of fight. From my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. My apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free.